Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to an episode of InRange. I'm here with Russell, otherwise known as Sinister Rifleman. You already know him from the channel. And Kevin, who is actually a doctor of physical therapy. And one of the things we want to talk to you about today are these guys, kettlebells. Because they're a quintessential part of two-gun action challenge match and of course desert brutality and Finnish brutality. And the first year we started this, we had a drill called the Kasarda Drill, which actually came out well before we ever had desert brutality. And the idea behind this is you throw the kettlebell downrange and where it lands is your next shooting position. Hit. 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 It's clear. Hit. Over the years of running the match, we've come to find that people tried to come up with a lot of clever ways to necessarily speed up their times on these stages, and those clever methods turned into physical injuries. We had people who actually dislocated shoulders once. We had people that had like some kind of rotator cuff stuff, or people that just threw their back out. You've had some injuries too.
Yeah, I actually strained my shoulder last year running the Kasarda Drill 3 times. Twice the first run through, and then one in the Armored Plus P division. Yeah. So I thought it was a good idea to get Kevin out here. Kevin actually is the guy that works me through my injuries after I sustain them, and he's also a competitive action shooter, so his input in this realm is particularly valuable.
If you'd run it a fourth time, perhaps it would have realigned you.
Maybe if I did it off the right arm rather than the left arm.
So here's the deal. There is nothing inherently dangerous about doing this. It's what it is that people that are doing this that don't have any understanding about how one would do like a standard kettlebell snatch or swing or clean, don't necessarily know how to swing this properly on the clock. And when you're on the clock, all sorts of stuff happens. So we've started dictating one thing, which is you can't swing it like this, because that's what turned into shoulder injuries. And we started dictating essentially a use your knees and legs and thrust and throw. And that in Finland at Finnish Brutality 2019 prevented any injuries. However, those are Finns and they're kind of mutants, and they probably may not get injured if we put, depleted uranium kettlebell on them. So what I want to do here is, Kevin, you were going to show us some stuff, or maybe talk to our audience about what's a good way to do this, and then maybe demonstrate.
Yeah, so kind of what you're talking about with issues before, where people are trying to kind of throw it, and it's a really heavy weight. Even if you're a professional athlete, who worked your rotator cuff regularly and was pretty strong with it, it's still really not a good idea to do real quickly under stress and everything with that, because there's a lot of acceleration, deceleration under heavy load, especially as that weight gets further away from the body. It's going to have more leverage against your shoulder, and just really creates a good opportunity to either dislocate a shoulder or tear a rotator cuff muscle. And so I like the fact that you guys changed that requirement of having to do a squat throw and use two hands, keep it in front of you. You can't really get the kettlebell away from the body in a position that's going to strain that shoulder a whole lot. So
on that note, so just like anything else, it's not a good idea to put down your Coke and go outside and try to run a marathon if you've never done that before. And that's no different than this. So what we're going to show in this video are maybe, if you could only afford to buy one thing, maybe they could just buy a kettlebell. So maybe we can show them some drills they could do with just a kettlebell instead of a whole list of equipment. And then we can show you what not to do and then what to do, as well as maybe do it on the clock a little bit for some fun at the end. And then when you come to Desert Brutality or a two-gun action challenge match, or just want to work on this for yourself, you'll do it without actually messing yourself up. So let's move on to some of that.
All right.
All right, guys, so I'm going to be the village idiot of InRange today, and I'm going to show you how not to do it. This is something we saw people doing at the very first Desert Brutality, and it turned into actual issues. So one of the things people thought would be fast, they pick this thing up, and they would rotate their body, cock the thing behind themselves, and then try and toss it this way. And it did actually turn into pretty good throws. And there's one guy, Christoph, who is from Sweden, who's a Viking, and he got away with it, but there were a lot of people that did not get away with it. The problem with this is, as you do this, you can see that there's a lot of tension going on here. I'm turning my body. I'm also turning my core, and if I'm not letting go of this at the right time, this is going to hyperextend everything. It's going to pull my arm, my shoulder forward. It might even pull my back out of alignment. So this is this is pretty much a no-go. That's the reason we stopped it at finish brutality. So what I'm going to do is have Kevin come over and show us maybe a better way.
So this is what we're going to go to with this match, and it's going to be grabbing kind of both sides, both hands on the kettlebell, and we're going to basically just squat down, and then what you want to try to do is explode up so that that kettlebell swings out. Now there's going to be a little bit of a trick on that release, and if you hold on to it a little too long, it's going to go up, not going to go as far, or if you let go too soon, it's going to go a little lower and not kind of get the distance that we want to try to maximize that throw. So what we want to try to do, again, start doing some squats at least, use a weight, maybe with a backpack on too, since we're going to be carrying some gear with this match, but then get through and try to give it just under about a 45-degree angle throw is what we found to kind of maximize that throw. So it hits and kind of slides a little bit, gives you a little extra distance on that throw.
So that was what you should do. Kevin, why don't you do one where you throw it too soon or too early and show it kind of do that high arc you were talking about.
Let's see if we can hold on to this a little long.
Yeah, so what you did is you got altitude but not distance.
Mm-hmm. And also to kind of notice how it just impacts with the ground and then just stays there.
Just plops.
So, you got a little extra roll there. So we were playing around with the handholds a little bit on this, and one of the things that we noticed was there's a little bit of a difference on that kettlebell release if you have your hands right next to each other like Russ is demonstrating here versus turning it forward and having one hand in front and below.
The thing I noticed too, doing this technique, my wrist didn't hurt. My left wrist, I still have some tendon issues there. If I do it this way, it doesn't hurt because I can lock my wrist solid. But doing it this way, because the wrist has more movement in it, I was feeling some strain in my wrist doing it that way. So this way was actually allowing me to be more comfortable in the throw and actually throw it further. All right, I got my hands staggered, squatting down, release.
This hold should do pretty well. And it seems to give you a little extra roll too on that distance. So because the hands are staggered, little one in front of the other, it might feel a little weird doing it that way. So I'd imagine a lot of guys are probably want to just grab on both sides and throw with their hands next to each other. But either way, we're kind of finding it's pretty comfortable and pretty low risk for any injury.
Hit! 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 Clear. Hit!
All right, so hopefully you saw what we did there in a demonstration of 3 different guns and 3 different shooters and a little bit slightly different technique amongst all of us, but that was trying to use what you described to us as the safer way to throw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things we kind of noticed as we ran that was there's a little advantage having that bipod. Russ was able to just kind of set the rifle down and not have to kind of like lay it on its side or anything like that. I may have been a little careful with my rifle, just not running this drill before. So
Armored Plus P Division competitors may want to keep that in mind. If you have a bipod on your person throughout the match, you can take it on and off your rifle as you wish.
And I want to say that I feel like I ran this pretty efficiently. This is unloaded, obviously, but I think I could have done something a little better from a gaming perspective. So once you fire the gun, right, cock the hammer, open it. If you do this very judiciously, or actually, excuse me, very aggressively, it will eject the round without a problem. That whole thing about the cases from Little Bighorn, there's a lot of lore around that. If you do this aggressively, it'll eject that round or that cartridge. What I should have done, though, is I shot, ejected it, and then moved with it open, and then when I got to position, I loaded it. I could have been a little faster if I shot, put the gun down, threw the kettlebell, and as I was running to the next position, opened it, ejected, and loaded, closed it, and got into position. So if you're going to run a trapdoor Springfield at Desert Brutality, I would advise you to reload anytime you're moving, never static reload.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of efficient time use there. So
Absolutely.
but
And a fine point that I noticed too is like handing the rifle off to the ground with my support hand, strong hands acquiring the kettlebell, hands come together on the kettlebell and throwing. It's more efficient than trying to like juggle what you're doing with your hands. You know, if you have a set purpose of your support hand is the one that's discarding the rifle and your strong hand's acquiring the kettlebell at the same time, it'll be more efficient.
So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you're going to use this drill just at home for your own exercise regimen, if you're not going to be at the match, you now have some ideas about how to do it safely and not hurt yourself in the process. If you're coming to Desert Brutality, we're glad to see you there. Follow these rules and hopefully you'll have a fun and safe match and bring something cool to win the match with. Thanks for watching.